Emma and John were ecstatic. They had been searching for months, tirelessly visiting house after house, hoping to find the perfect place to call home. Finally, their efforts had paid off.
We finally found our dream home, John. It's everything we ever wanted and more.
A quaint Victorian house nestled in a peaceful neighborhood. The house stood proudly with its charming architecture, surrounded by a garden that promised to bloom beautifully in the spring.
I can't believe it's ours, Emma. It's perfect. Every corner of this house feels like it was made just for us.
The moving truck disgorged their belongings. Each box carried memories of their past and dreams for their future. They laughed as they unpacked boxes, eager to start their new chapter. The air was filled with the scent of fresh paint and the promise of new beginnings.
This house is everything we wanted, John. Look at this room. It's so spacious. With spacious rooms and a cozy fireplace. Imagine all the cozy nights we'll spend here, just the two of us.
As they explored, they stumbled upon a locked door tucked away at the end of the hallway. It was an oddity in their otherwise perfect home. It was the only room in the house they couldn't access. Curiosity bubbled inside them. What secrets could this door be hiding?
What do you think is behind it? Maybe it's a hidden treasure or an old family heirloom.
I don't know, but we'll ask the realtor later. For now, let's focus on getting settled in. We have a whole house to unpack first. There's so much to do and so many memories to create.
They brushed it off, deciding to deal with the mystery later, their excitement overshadowing any concern. The bright sunlight streaming through the windows filled their hearts with warmth. They knew this was the start of something beautiful, a new beginning in their dream home. Days turned into weeks. Emma and John settled into their new home. The locked door, however, remained a silent enigma. Its presence gnawed at their minds, a constant reminder of the unknown.
That door, it just won't leave my thoughts.
One humid afternoon, curiosity got the best of them. John retrieved a rusty old toolbox from the basement.
Let's see if we can get this open.
He managed to pry open the lock with a loud crack. The door creaked open, releasing a musty odor. A wave of cold air washed over them, sending shivers down their spines. The attic was dark and dusty, illuminated only by the sliver of sunlight from the hallway.
This place feels different.
Hesitantly, they stepped inside. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of forgotten time. Dust particles danced in the faint rays of light.
Look, over there in the corner.
As their eyes adjusted to the gloom, they noticed an old wooden chest tucked away in a corner. It was ornate with strange symbols etched on its surface.
What do you think is inside?
Intrigued, they lifted the heavy lid. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, lay a leather-bound book and a porcelain doll. The doll was exquisite, with piercing blue eyes and a melancholic smile. Yet, something about it felt unnerving.
This doll, it feels almost alive.
That night, sleep evaded them. Strange noises echoed through the house, the creaking of floorboards, the rustling of unseen things. It was as if the house itself was whispering. The air was thick with an unsettling presence, a feeling that something or someone was watching them from the shadows. Every creak and groan of the old house seemed amplified, reverberating through the stillness of the night.
Did you hear that, John? It sounded like my name. It was so clear, almost as if someone was standing right next to me, whispering in my ear.
Emma could have sworn she heard her name being whispered, a faint murmur lost in the stillness of the night. She strained her ears, trying to catch the sound again, but all she could hear was the pounding of her own heart. The silence that followed was almost deafening, making her question if she had imagined it.
It's probably just our imaginations, Emma. This house is old. Old houses make noises, and our minds are just playing tricks on us. But even as he said it, John couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. The look in Emma's eyes told him she felt the same.
But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. They tried to ignore the strange occurrences, attributing them to the age of the house. But the house felt different now, as if it were holding its breath. Something was wrong. The walls seemed to close in on them, the shadows growing longer and darker with each passing moment. The once comforting creaks and groans of the house now felt like ominous warnings.
I can't shake this feeling, John. Something's not right. It's like the house is alive, watching us, waiting for something. Her voice trembled with fear, and John could see the anxiety etched on her face.
They had no idea what awaited them in the days to come. The whispers in the night were just the beginning. As the days passed, the strange occurrences became more frequent and more intense. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut without warning, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. It was as if the house was trying to communicate with them, to tell them something important. But what? And why now? The answers lay hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. Emma started having nightmares.
Vivid, unsettling dreams of the doll. Its blue eyes followed me, cold and menacing.
Each morning, she woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding.
The doll, once relegated to a shelf, seemed to move around the house. We would find it in different rooms, its position subtly altered.
I tried to rationalize it, but Emma couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched.
She began to read the old book they'd found. The pages were filled with cryptic texts and disturbing illustrations.
The book spoke of an ancient entity, trapped and seeking release.
Fear became a constant companion. The once comforting silence of the house now pulsed with an unseen energy. The temperature fluctuated wildly, sending chills down their spines.
John, something's not right. I can feel it.
One evening, as John was reading in the living room, he felt a cold touch on his shoulder. He turned to find the doll perched on the armrest, its blue eyes fixed on him.
Emma, this doll, it's staring at me. I can't shake off this feeling of dread.
The doll's gaze seemed to penetrate his very being. It was as if it were looking deep inside him, reading his thoughts, his fears. From that moment on, John became strangely drawn to the attic. He found himself inexplicably pulled towards the locked door, as if by an invisible force.
John, what are you doing? Why are you always up here?
He would spend hours up there, staring into the darkness, talking to himself. His behavior became increasingly erratic, his words nonsensical.
It's calling me, Emma. I have to go. I have to know.
He was losing himself, slipping away from Emma.
John, you're scaring me. You're in danger. I can feel it.
The entity in the book, the doll, the attic, it was all connected, and it was consuming John. One night, John disappeared. Emma searched frantically for him, her heart pounding in her chest. The darkness seemed to close in around her, every shadow a potential hiding place, every creak of the floorboards a cruel reminder of his absence. She called out his name, her voice echoing through the empty house, but there was no response. The silence was deafening, a void that threatened to swallow her whole.
John, where are you? Please answer me. Her voice cracked with desperation, each word a plea for his return. She moved from room to room, her eyes scanning every corner, every shadow, but there was no sign of him. The house, once a place of warmth and love, now felt like a labyrinth of despair.
She raced up to the attic, her only thought to find John. The attic was empty. The old chest was gone. The book vanished. The only thing remaining was the porcelain doll, lying on the floor. The attic, usually a place of forgotten memories and old treasures, now felt like a tomb. The dust hung in the air, illuminated by the pale moonlight that filtered through the small window. The absence of the chest and the book was a stark contrast to the cluttered space, as if they had been deliberately taken.
No, where are you, John? Her voice was barely a whisper now, the fear and panic choking her words. She felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead, her hands trembling as she clutched at the empty air. The attic seemed to close in around her, the walls pressing in, the shadows growing darker and more menacing.
It lay there, staring up at her with those piercing blue eyes, a triumphant smirk on its painted lips. Emma rushed to the doll, desperately hoping to find a clue, a sign, anything that would lead her to John. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her every move, its smirk mocking her desperation. She picked it up, turning it over in her hands, searching for any hidden compartment or secret message. But there was nothing, just the cold, unyielding porcelain.
Please, there has to be something, anything. Her voice was a broken sob now, the weight of her fear and despair crushing her. She felt a tear slip down her cheek, her vision blurring as she continued to search. The attic was silent, the only sound her ragged breathing and the distant ticking of a clock.
As she reached for it, her fingers brushed against something cold and hard. She froze, her heart skipping a beat. Slowly, she turned her head, her eyes widening as she saw what she had touched. It was a small metal key, half buried in the dust. Her mind raced, trying to remember if she had ever seen it before. She picked it up, the cold metal sending a shiver down her spine. Could this be the clue she was looking for? She held it tightly, her hope rekindled, even as the shadows seemed to grow darker around her. It was a door handle. Hidden beneath the doll, a trapdoor in the floor yawned open, revealing a set of rickety stairs leading down into the abyss. A low, guttural growl emanated from the darkness below.
Oh my God, John, are you down there?
The doll's cold porcelain hand seemed to point towards the open trapdoor, as if beckoning her to enter. Emma's blood ran cold.
I have to go down there. I have to find him.
But a chilling realization washed over her. Some secrets are better left buried. Some doors are not meant to be opened. And some evils are best left undisturbed.
I can't do this.